Hey everybody, it's Brian.
Jason.
And this is Perfectly Screwed Podcast, episode 55. This is part 3.
Part 3 of who knows how many parts this could go.
Jesus Christ. Well, I'm not recording anymore after this today.
No.
So, part 3 is where we'll stop it for a minute. To give you guys a backstory, we were talking about the pyramids and the batteries, and then we talked about Bosnic Pyramid and the regeneration chambers, and that got us to where we are now, which is talking about regeneration and the fact that there have been a race of beings that not only were way more advanced than us, but there's getting to be proof that there was a race of beings possibly that was way more advanced than us. They got wiped out. And they had technologies that, at this point in time, we know that there was technologies 20,000 years before the first known civilization. About 25 to...
That's due to carbon dating in the Bosnian Pyramid.
Yes, that's scientifically proven. So it's about 30,000 years or something around there from where we are right now.
Right.
So, backwards.
Yes.
So that also sets civilization back a lot farther than they originally thought. They originally thought...
by about 25 years.
Yeah, by 25,000
Oh,
years.
yeah, 25 years.
Yeah,
sorry.
Not 25 years, no sir. 25,000 years. Right. Which is a huge number to think about because really, just think about how much technology we've invented in the last 2,000.
Think about how much we've invented in the last 50.
Yeah, 50 years. Yeah, since last 100, since the early 1900s. Planes,
just boom.
Computers.
Boom.
Right. It's almost like somebody's feeding this technology into our environment, isn't it? It's interesting.
It's almost like somebody was waiting for the perfect time.
Yes. Well, here's some more technology that they've just started to realize. This is called Neuromorphic... Okay. Let me explain the rules.
Listeners.
Yes. To all new listeners, first
and
of all...
we know you're out there because we see you guys.
Yes. We know that we're growing every week, and we know there's new people out there listening to the podcast every week. Let me tell you, if this is your first episode you're listening to...
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, first of all. Secondly, go back to episode 53. 53. Because 53 is the beginning of this three-parter, and if you don't go back and listen to those, you won't get this one. So,
but what
go back
you can get is that we do have here on the Perfectly Screwed podcast what we call the drinking game.
There is a drinking game, yes.
And the rules are whenever Brian's talking and he fucks up a word, which is very frequently.
Well, not the first episode. I was doing good. Then I started
53
drinking.
He was good. But anyway, if he mispronounces a word, then everybody takes a shot.
You're correct.
So,
and I just did it again. So please, feel free to drink your favorite alcoholic beverage. See, the problem is, I started drinking on the last episode.
Yeah, that's true.
The more Long Islands I take down, the harder it is for me to concentrate on what I'm saying.
Oh, I'm not mad at you about it or anything. Yeah, it's fine.
Plus, I'm using big words like
I have no idea what the word is.
Okay, neuromorphic technologies. It's HCI, which is human-computer interaction. It's an area of research that started in the 80s and has come a very long way in a very short time. HCI is the foundation for what we call neuromorphic computing. It's the integration of systems containing electronic analog circuits that mimic neurobiological architectures present in biological nervous systems. So, to break that down into layman's terms, it is basically the process of them inventing a computer that can 100% act and feel like the human body. Or a computer where we can take our mind and put it inside of a robot, an android, and the technology inside them mimics our brain and nervous system 100%. And in 2018, it's funny, the research was defunded by Defense Advanced Projects Agency. So I'm sure that has something to do with the government because, we wouldn't want to leave the government out of this. And since it says defense, I'm assuming that it has something to do with the government and blowing something the fuck up. Because that's just...
It's government.
That's what we do.
So, like DNA, we've talked about this before.
Mm-hmm.
DNA can receive and store information, and then it can download and upload, right? And so, in essence, we are biological computers.
True. Correct.
We have a steady stream of light, which is information, that's flowing to us and through us and out of us at all times. Captured by the DNA, which downloads it, and then uploads it back to the universe.
Well, see, Elon Musk is working on this technology also. And the project they were working on.
Yeah, is that what you're talking about, though, with this thing? I mean, that's what it sounds like, right?
Yes.
Almost like we are biological computers now on the verge of creating biological computers.
Correct.
Okay.
What they're doing is they're taking microchips, they're putting them in human brains. And they tested this.
Is this the Neuralink thing?
This is what it's part of. It's part of it. Well, no, Elon Musk is doing this on his own. But this is from the Department of Defense. They put it in.
Okay.
They put it in pilots' brains. This brain chip, it could read and dictate brain information through this chip, and through this chip, they could fly a drone plane and bomb another city without ever going anywhere. So the chip reads your brain waves. It tells the plane what to do, and remotely flies a drone into another city and can bomb them just by the pilot thinking about flying the plane.
Oh, so he's telepathically controlling.
Well, not technically. The chip is transmitting his brainwaves into the other machine. They're also using this technology because they've invented. See, he's controlling it with his thoughts. With his thoughts, yes. Now, this is the very beginning of this. They're using this technology in a lot of ways, and this is where we're going with this. The first thing is they grew a simple cell kind of brain type organism. And instead of using electronics, they used protein strands, which is DNA.
Yeah.
And they programmed the DNA with information. And they monitored this mass of cells that they grew. And that mass of cells could do simple mathematics and different things that the protein DNA told it to do through the protein signals. So they're basically made a biological computer based on this technology. Well, yeah, a very miniature one. Yeah, very rudimentary one, but yes.
But that's how everything starts.
Right. But also another interesting thing they're doing with this technology is they can take that chip, put it in your brain, and not only can you operate a machine with it, but your thoughts can be transmitted into a robot that looks exactly like you. Once they do that, they independently cut off the link. And the robot still thinks for itself using AI technology based on your thoughts and experiences. And the robots even have the same facial and gesture mannerisms as the person's brain that they came from. Basically. A rudimentary one, but yes.
Wild.
We're at the start of this technology. Now, as we go into this, I said all of this because all of this, you're probably wondering if you listened to the last two episodes, how this all relates together. And we're going to get there, I promise you. Just hold your horses, grab your panties, we're coming that way. Now, there is a text that they found in Mexico. And what's that pyramid called again? Because if I try to say it, the T one. The Teotihuacan. Okay. They found tablets made of stone in Teotihuacan years and years ago in the 20s. Those tablets are what's the basis for the emerald tablets. Now, we've talked about the emerald tablets before. If anybody doesn't know, the emerald tablets are an ancient text that were the basis of Hindu, Buddhism, and Islam. They were also, some say, the basis of Christianity. And they are written by an Atlantean, someone who says that he is a supreme being, a race above ours that's been around for way longer than we thought of.
Right.
And that they invented humans as their slaves. They biogenetically engineered us as their worker bees. And some cataclysm happened. The whole race died out except for a few of these Atlanteans. They survived. And he would go into regeneration chambers under the pyramids that he built. And he even says in the Emerald Tablets, they were power sources for regeneration chambers. Now, what did they say about the Bosnia Pyramid? If you went down under the Bosnia Pyramid, behind these ceramic sculptures, the power emitting through the Bosnia Pyramid regenerated human cells. Now we're going back to the Emerald Tablets. Now these are ancient tablets. Some say one of the oldest religious texts known to man, way predating Sumeria. They said these tablets are so old that they cannot actually date how old they are. So we're talking about probably, if we go with just the Bosnia Pyramid, probably 40, 50,000 years old, and I'm just guessing.
We'll say
30,000.
We'll say 30 to be on the low end.
Yeah, 30 on the low end. Because that's the oldest pyramid we know of.
Right.
The oldest structure we've ever found. The oldest civilization, clearly. Because you have to have a civilization to build a pyramid that big.
You have to have advanced technology and advanced knowledge.
Well,
you're not just going to build it for no fucking
clearly.
reason whatsoever.
Well, not only that, they built it out of concrete, but we've been through that. If you listen to the last episode, you realize how advanced this pyramid was. It's more advanced than we are today by a long shot. We cannot even come close to the technology they invented 20,000 years before the first civilization.
We can't even come close. We're just now coming close to mimic its purpose.
Yeah.
But we don't even have the equipment to replicate.
No, we cannot replicate the power source that drives this pyramid.
We can't even build the pyramids.
No. We can't even make the material it's built out of. We can come close.
Right, because, like you said, the Bosnian...
It's made out of concrete that we don't know how to invent.
Like, the Great Pyramid of Giza is quarried stone. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the Bosnian is actually fucking man-made cement.
Right, and formed. Solid cement block.
They had to have molded it there.
Yeah, okay... To put that in perspective of nowadays, the foundation of your home is made with cement blocks. Imagine those blocks, but much stronger and about the size of a normal house. And that's your block that they built 20,000 years before they say there was even tools.
Yeah.
So that sets everything backwards, first of all. Now, let's get back to the Emerald Tablets. The Emerald Tablets speak of these regeneration chambers. Mm-hmm. They speak of stuff that we are finding out now is not science fiction, because people for years have said this is religious hokum. They've said it's science fiction. There's no basis in reality.
Somebody's been suppressing
it. And now it's just coming to light through scientists like Graham Hancock and some of these very on-the-fringe scientists who are figuring this stuff out and saying, you know what, the narrative they've given us is bullshit.
Right.
So we're going to look into it ourselves, and we're finding out that you're wrong.
The thing about Graham Hancock, Billy Carson, all these guys, Greg Braden's another one, is that they're actually not saying this is bullshit. You know what I'm saying? That's not how they are. Mm-mm. That's not the type of people they are.
No.
They are just putting facts in front of you.
Yeah.
And asking you to just have an open mind.
Well, that's what those two Italian scientists said.
And none of them will ever tell you to believe anything they're saying. Every one of them will tell you to go research it yourself.
Well,
go visit the places. Put your hands on it.
Well, these Italian scientists said the same thing. These two Italian archaeologists who dated this and found all this information out about the Bosnian pyramid, they didn't say, hey, everything you're saying is bullshit. What they said is, this is our evidence. This is what we found.
This is what we think.
Well, they didn't even say think. They said, this is what it proves.
Right.
The plants that are inside this pyramid that were put there, that nobody has went in there and put there, but the people who put it there, are 30,000 years old. The materials that this pyramid's made out of predate the oldest civilization we know of. And we can prove to you that there's some kind of radiation coming out of this pyramid into the tunnels.
And it's regenerating.
And we don't know why. We don't know how. But we know that it's there because we can measure it.
We can measure it, right? We have the devices
to
measure it.
Yeah, they just put the evidence out there and they're like, you figure out why it's doing it.
Right.
Because we can't figure it out.
Right.
Right. But the interesting thing is, I'll say it, everything we've learned is bullshit. Everything they thought they knew is wrong. And that happens in science all the time. That's why when people give you absolutes in this life, and I tell everybody in our audience right now, if someone gives you an absolute, question it.
Oh, yeah.
Because if they give you an absolute, they're probably full of shit. Because there are no absolutes in this world.
Well, Jordan Maxwell used to say that, and he said he heard it from somebody, but I can't remember who, but he said, you never trust a person who says that they have found the truth.
Right.
You trust the person that says they're looking for the truth.
Correct.
Right.
And this is a problem I have with a lot of religions, actually, is the fact that they deal in absolutes. If you talk to a Christian, they will absolutely tell you God is real and there's only one God and the Bible's real and all this. And then if you ask them to prove it, they can't.
No.
They say you got to believe in faith. Well, that's like saying, you should believe in fucking the imaginary fucking Easter Bunny or Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have no proof that Santa Claus is real. Well, I have no proof Santa Claus isn't real. So how can you say Santa isn't real? I believe in him. Here he is. I'm believing in faith.
Yeah, there's still a lot of people locked into, there's a lot of people that you could talk to about, what we're talking about right now, and all of them will agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still a lot of people locked in to Jesus.
There's a lot of people locked in.
They can't, that's it. And it's you know what I mean? It's guys, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
The whole point of the Jesus character is for you to stop thinking.
Yeah.
For you to come to a point and stop thinking. Because if you really believed in Jesus, real or not, is irrelevant. It's a message. And if you believe in him, then you would live by his message, by his example, which is to never stop seeking the truth.
Well, it's just interesting to me, and I'm going to put this out there.
So firmly believing in Jesus is contradicting Jesus.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to put this out there, and then I'm going to leave religion alone for a minute because we're going to get back to the Emerald Tablets, but they kind of tie into religion.
It's all tied, it's tied in.
But this is the thing. Who wrote the New Testament? Who okayed all of the New Testament? Paul. Who did Paul work for? And if you think I'm lying, go look it up. Do you know who Paul worked for? The Roman Catholic Church. Paul was a politician.
Yeah, Paul was a character invented in a story by the Roman
Catholic Church. Paul was real.
No, he was not.
Paul was the second hand of a very important person for Christians. You know who Paul was second in command to? King James. King James okayed the Christian Bible, which is why you have the King James Version. Paul was his second in command.
Pauline, gotcha.
Pauline was the head of the Roman Catholic Church. He wrote the whole narrative that is the New Testament and okayed everything that went into it. Now, I'm sure that the king and his second in command would never manipulate religion for political power and money.
No.
Of course not. They were obviously they were spoken straight from God.
This is from the Emerald Tablets.
Here we go.
Which predates the Bible by thousands of years.
Yes.
Right? So, now for a time I descend, and the men of Kim, which Kim is Egypt, shall know me no more. But in a time yet unborn will I rise again, mighty and potent, requiring an accounting of those left behind me. That is the story of Jesus right there. Right? The Bible all the Bible is plagiarism. Like, it's a hodgepodge of all these ancient texts put together to manipulate our minds.
Well, not only that, all religion, not just the Bible, Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism are all based on the Emerald Tablets. And in the Emerald Tablets, what Thoth said was, we have been around. I'm going to give you the basics, because the Emerald Tablets are really big, but I've read the whole thing, but they're really big.
But the thing is, though, it's not just the Emerald Tablets either. There's other...
Oh, yeah, there's other texts.
Other texts and cuniform tablets, you know what I'm saying? Like the Atrahasis.
Yes.
The Legend of Etana.
Yes.
The Nag Hammadi Scriptures. Yes. The Epic of Gilgamesh.
Yes.
All these different cuneiform tablets and texts. All of them, and the Emerald Tablets, way predate all these religions.
Correct.
And all their books.
And it's interesting, all of those tablets talk about the same race, the Atlanteans.
Yeah.
They all talk about a race of beings that were way more advanced.
And there was also the Lemurians.
Yeah, and the Lemurians, but they were also Atlanteans. They were the cousins.
They were advanced too, yeah.
Yeah, but they were the cousins of the Atlanteans. They were the same race.
Right.
They were just
they were
different area. It's like you would say we're Americans and they're Europeans.
Yep. It's like U.S. and Russia.
Yeah, U.S. and Russia, right. The Lemurians was a different civilization, and Atlantis was a different civilization. But they were
possibly part of the same species.
They were the same species. Okay. They said we're cousins or relatives or brothers. He said, because I forget which text it says, but I've read those texts too, and it says that we are brothers to the Lemurians, or we're cousins to the Lemurians. Like, we're the same race, we're just two separate countries.
Yep.
Like, they started a culture over here, we started a culture over here. We're the same guys. Right.
And they fucking war just like we do, and
Right. But when we go into the Emerald Tablets, and like I said, I'm going to give you the basics, because I could do 12 episodes on the Emerald Tablets. But the basics are that this Atlantean named Thoth, who they've been around for a long time, basically him and a few of his species were left. And they were passing their knowledge to the lower beings that they had used as slaves, which are us humans. And the only knowledge they gave to them was the anointed ones, or the ones they considered of their race, or hybrids. Which coincides with the Bible 100%. Because Cain went out into the land of Nod and mated with the natives. The natives were us. Cain was of this race, which were Adam and Eve and the Atlanteans and all of this. Okay? They were of that race, which were advanced, much more advanced than we are now. And he mated with them and made us. And then the Atlanteans and Lumarians and all this that were left over saw that we were getting smart. But there was a pure bloodline of them still around, which I believe is where you get your Buddhas, your Jesus, your Muhammad's. That's where you get these enlightened, philosophical, religious leaders. They are of that pure race. And they're the ones that held the knowledge of their ancestors. And they also gave it to the kings of the world that they anointed as worthy enough. And he says this in Emerald Tablets, only the worthy will pass the gates and get the knowledge that I have. So the ones he decided were worthy enough for that knowledge, he gave it to, like the kings and pharaohs of Egypt. And the kings of the Israelite tribes, like you said before, Methuselah, who lived 900 years. He had knowledge that nobody else had. King
Right.
David had knowledge that nobody else had.
Yeah,
Saul.
See, I think there's a warring between the bloodlines, because I agree with you about the enlightened beings passed down bloodline.
Mm-hmm.
But what do they all have in common? Like Jesus and Buddha, and you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They all get fucking ostracized, fucking hung on a cross.
Right, because
I think there's another bloodline that is the powers to be. That are running the show on this fucking planet.
I believe
that are evil,
yes,
manipulators, and this bloodline runs from Alexander the Great down to King James, down to every goddamn United States president, including up and today, Joe Biden.
Look, I believe Cain did go out into the land of Nod. I believe he mixed races. And that bloodline is the ones you're talking about.
Yes.
Which are an exact opposition to the pure bloodline.
Yes.
Because they want the knowledge and they're jealous because they can't get it.
Yep.
Because the pure bloodline won't give it to them. And it's funny that in the Bible and in religious texts, they said, God spoke unto me. Who is God? Maybe God is quote unquote that Atlantean that's coming back and giving them this information that he has, and only that he has.
Yeah, because at least me, man, the God, creator of the universe, God that I believe in, isn't fucking walking in the garden beside Adam. You know what I'm saying? And asking him, "Who told you were naked?"
Well, even thought
the whole story, like you're saying, Adam and Eve were placed in the Garden of Eden, right? Like somebody created them, placed them there for a reason. They weren't supposed to be out they weren't supposed to eat from the tree of knowledge, right? So somebody fucking came in and gave them this knowledge. And then when God, finds out, like he said, he banishes them from the garden. Well, who's to say it was just Adam and Eve that they were making? He, like you said, he banished them. They start mating with the people that are already out there to create the fucking bloodline you were talking about, while the pure bloodline's still getting made.
Well, this is the thing Thoth also said in the Emerald Tablets, which I found really interesting. He said, I am not a god. He said, I am a man just like you.
Just like Jesus
He said
he was a god.
Right. He said, but there are
Or he never
beings,
said he was God.
He said, there are beings of light, the creators of all. And he said, they have advanced to the point where they no longer need a physical body, because they became so intelligent and they regenerated in these chambers so much that they became pure energy, which is the basis of all God. And see, what happened is, I think before time, before this universe was created, anything, there was beings. And they were so high of a race that they were an immortal race of beings. And they progressed to the point that they controlled everything. And they could create anything they wanted to. They had gotten so intelligent that they could create life itself. And they created all of this, and then they still communicated with certain people down here, like Thoth. And they said, hey, he's intelligent. He's part of our light beings. He's obviously got to the point, these Atlanteans, these Lumarians, have gotten to the point where they're getting as smart as we were. Let's go down there and give them some of our knowledge. Yeah. And that's where God communicates directly only to certain people of this bloodline, of this race, of Atlanteans and Lumarians and people that were specifically made or created by these gods.
Right.
But then we got us, which were originally animals. Just like gorillas are now. They're getting intelligent, but they're still below us. And so no matter how intelligent they get, we would consider them lower life forms. Even if they got as intelligent as us and we keep growing in intelligence, we're going to look down and go, well, they're getting pretty intelligent now. Maybe we should go tell them what a computer is.
Right?
Right.
Yeah, the Bible talks about fallen angels.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it would make. There would make sense that. So, like our body is it's just vibration, right? It's just energy vibrating at a certain frequency, and so yeah, if you are an enlightened being to the point where you are vibrating so high that. Yeah, you would not have this physical body.
You wouldn't. You would vibrate to the point
where
you are
so high
pure
where
energy.
you are pure energy. Like, so, to become who we are, you would actually have to fall out of that state.
Correct.
Lower your vibration to where we are.
Right. Yeah. Which is where we came from.
Right. And it's exactly,
Right.
And that's what every religion also talks about.
And who?
We are God.
In the flesh.
We are all God. We all have the capability of choosing to vibrate on a level where literally our bodies would turn to light.
Right, but to do that...
That's what we are.
To do that, you have to overcome your selfishness, your ego, and the center of self, and that's almost impossible for our race. That is why the gods a long time ago gave up on the human race. Because we are so corrupt in ourselves and so full of ourselves that we will never achieve enlightenment except for a few.
Right. And
like Buddha.
And that's why I think for some reason there's a race of beings that want us kept in this low vibration.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
There's a race that is holding us down.
Because we can achieve light. We can achieve being light beings. We all have that capability.
Well, here's another...
It's our belief. I mean, think about it, dude. When you're born, the minute you fucking pop out of your mom's womb and open your eyes... Center. Mm-hmm. Where's that keeping your vibration?
Low.
Exactly.
But listen to this. Think about this for a second. Think about what they call the Garden of Eden. And then think about the Emerald Tablets for a moment. He said there's regeneration chambers. They've proven that under the Bosnia Pyramid, if you stay down there long enough, your cells start to slowly regenerate. What if they built a regeneration chamber and then over the years through mythology and whatnot, it became the Garden of Eden, but really what it was a chamber where Adam and Eve were kept because they would never grow old inside of it.
Yeah.
And it could still be on this planet. It could be under the pyramids for all we know. Thoth said the regeneration chambers were under the pyramids, that he would go to transfer his mind into avatar bodies. Now, where I'm going to go with this and prove this for a second is what is happening today. Me and Jason were talking at the beginning of the episode. They now can transfer your consciousness parts into a machine. There is no difference between that and Emerald Tablets. That's exactly what that ancient text said he could do 30, 40,000 years ago. And we're just now relearning how to do what they already knew how to do.
Right.
We're learning the same technology over again that was already present on this earth. He knew how to take a biological organism and transfer his brain through technology into a new avatar body, and that's exactly what we're doing with AI right now.
Oh yeah, they're already doing it.
Yeah, we just haven't got to where they are now. We haven't perfected it.
No.
But you give us another 20, 30 years.
They have transferred consciousness.
Oh, yeah.
From a human being. They're doing it in the military.
Yeah.
From a human being to robots out in the field.
Yes.
Yes. Incredible.
So if we can do that and you fast forward another 20 years, 30 years, 100 years, you'll be able to take your mind before you die, transfer it right into another body, and live a whole nother life.
Give us another 5,000 years, and you'll be able to transfer your consciousness into another body that's your body right now.
Correct.
But, no matter how advanced we get, understand this. It's always going to be destroyed.
Oh, yes.
Somehow, some way, maybe by our hand, maybe not. It doesn't matter. Because naturally, the earth, it goes through cycles.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it's very easy to see that we would know it's coming, and that a select few would maintain that knowledge.
Well, it's what happened to the Atlanteans. He says it in the Emerald Tablets. He said, my culture was destroyed. Okay? Now, for a long time, they considered this myth and fiction and science fiction and all of this. And the stuff that the Greeks wrote. The Greeks wrote it about seeing Atlantis sink into the ocean from a great catastrophe. It exploded like Pompeii.
Like, oh yeah, the one Plato describes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the earth like it was swallowed by the earth.
Earth and the ocean.
And like if you're right on that mid-Atlantic ridge that runs through the Atlantic Ocean,
that is a major fault line.
And if the Earth's in one of its cycles,
right,
where it's shifting. Like, think about the Earth, like, literally, it would. It would, literally, the Earth could split open, and the land would fucking fall right into the sea.
Correct. Yeah. And that is what Plato described.
That's what happened.
And they said it was fiction, but he never said it was fiction. He said this actually happened. I saw it with my own eyes.
And so, but also what people got to understand is when you talk about Atlantis and the sinking of Atlantis, we're just talking about one body of land.
It was a huge body of land.
Where the technology was advanced all over the planet.
Right. Well, no. See, at this point, at Plato's time, there was technology in certain places. But most of the technology was housed in Atlantis and in Lumaria, which both of them were supposedly destroyed by great cataclysms.
Right.
And both of them set, interestingly enough, like you said, on fault lines.
Mm-hmm.
And they set right on an earth fault line. And yes, if there was a huge earthquake, it could split that landmass into pieces, and it would literally, like you said, sink into the ocean. And if it sunk deep enough, there's no way you would ever find that technology ever again because we can't go down there.
Right.
So, under the ocean, see, this is what most people don't think about.
Yeah.
Under the ocean, we can only go down about 10,000, maybe 100,000 feet before our subs, our best technology, is crushed like a tin can.
Of course.
Because the pressure of the water. There's a lot of ocean under that.
Yeah.
There's hundreds of thousands of miles of ocean that we have never seen. They said...
How could you ever explore all of it?
You can't. Yeah. Well, you can't go down deep enough to explore it.
No.
So that tells you right there could be whole cities that we have never seen. They've already said there's probably animals down there that no human being has ever known of. Because we can't get there. Right. You can't see it. There's no way to view it. Our technology does not go that far.
Mm-hmm.
Even a camera can't go that far because, again, the pressure of the water would destroy it. So if that is possibly down there, then all of this is possible. More than possible, probable.
Absolutely.
There could be whole civilizations that were on this earth that before the Ice Age was on the land, and then boom, it's under the ocean. I mean, we know it's happened before because they know that at one time there was only one big landmass. They know. Because all the continents fit together like a jigsaw puzzle. Mm-hmm. With some of the pieces missing, mind you, but they still kind of fit together.
And the Earth's constantly shifting and turning.
Right, and destroying itself. And changing.
Resetting itself.
Right, so it's very possible. I mean, we've, just on the parts of the ocean we can explore, we found huge cities.
Yes.
Underneath the ocean.
Absolutely.
That were part of Greece, part of Italy, part of Africa, part of North America. that are under the ocean that are still intact, but they're the ancient cities that we found. So that's just the ones we can see.
Yeah.
If you go deep enough, there could be whole civilizations that once were on this earth in that big landmass that split apart when the earth split.
Yeah, and then the other thing about the flooding is it's estimated like sometime within the last 12,500 years, the Ice Age, when the Ice Age ended. Since then, that our sea levels have rose over 400 feet.
Right.
Well, 12,500 years, 400 feet rising, little by little, that doesn't seem like a big deal. Except for they're saying that much, the 400-foot sea level rise has happened in the 12,500 years, but that it's happened in 3 big spurts.
Yes.
That there was like a 170 foot spike, a 180 foot spike, and like a 40 to 50 foot spike.
Right.
So if the fucking sea level rises 180 feet in the blink of a freaking eye, dude, we're talking about major shit going on.
Well, you think about this. They said if the climate keeps shifting the way it is, and global warming keeps happening, that literally the sea level could rise to the point where Indiana or Kentucky is a beach. Okay, if that happens, that doesn't just change the sea level, that changes the climate of this whole entire country.
Changes everything.
Right. Kentucky now becomes...
Think about the population.
Right. And think about this. Mississippi is now so far underwater that you can't get to it.
Right.
So, it's so far underwater that you can't get to it. You fast forward 30,000 years from that point, Mississippi never existed.
No.
They would never have any record of that place.
And you got beachfront fucking property out here.
Yeah. Right. And Indiana now is like Florida.
Right.
Canada becomes like Indiana.
And this has happened
over and over and over again. We know it's happened. They know for a fact now that an asteroid struck this Earth and destroyed the dinosaurs, and that was what, 100, 200,000 years ago?
65 million years ago.
Yeah, 65 million. Million, yeah. Yeah. Million.
Yeah, that's another thing, dude. So, obviously, time, there is no time. Time is what we have constructed it to mean. Even saying that, how we view time. 65 million fucking years. Can people even wrap their mind around how long
you
ago
gotta
that
think
is?
about for a second. There was a whole race.
So far ago.
A whole race of beings on this planet 65 million years ago that ruled this world and was wiped out in the blink of an eye by an asteroid.
Yeah.
Completely wiped out, extincted the whole race.
We're talking about a race of fucking lizard, reptile, fucking skyscraper type goddamn animals.
That were wiped out immediately.
Wiped
by an asteroid. If an asteroid...
If they can't survive...
We have no chance.
Except if we get...
underground. Which is what happened...
Or off the planet, too.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
Right. Well, the original race that was supposedly here in the Emerald Tablets, Thoth says they got off the planet. That is the Lightbringers. That is the ones who became immortal gods and learned how to manipulate the universe. Right,
but you know what? I think there's a race that got stuck here that aren't allowed to achieve that, dude.
Yes, I do too.
But they're trying to get off the fucking planet by using us to build their shit. Because whose fucking money do people think they're using to go to fucking Mars?
Well,
whose money and whose energy is Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos using to go to Mars?
I'll tell you something that'll really blow your mind.
They could be in the giant. They're the giants in the earth.
Well, let me blow your mind a little bit here. What do aliens sound like to you? The Greys. They have big eyes, no genitals. They move in a weird way. They have an electrical charge off of them. To me, that sounds like a robot. Now, if you're a being of pure energy and you don't need a body anymore, but you want to come visit the earth, what would you use? A robot. So who's to say all these alien visits aren't the beings coming here to check up on us?
Yeah.
To see what we're doing. And then they're so disappointed in us and how we treat everybody else that we're like, fuck this.
Who's to say the Greys aren't robots being controlled
By the energy source.
consciously by people living in the ground?
That's true.
You know
That's
what I mean?
true.
They're like drones.
Thaw said that there were light bringers and that he could communicate through the pyramids to them. And they've proven since then that the pyramids emit high frequency radio waves.
Right.
And they're aligned with the planets cosmically. Now,
Right.
Why would you do that unless
Sirius, Orion.
Right. Why wouldn't you do that unless you're communicating with a race that's not on this planet?
Right. I think it's also important, like, talking about he is in communication with beings of light. He also talks about beings of darkness.
Yes. He said there are beings of darkness that are fighting against the beings of light in the underworld.
Yes.
He said under the earth that are controlling things that we are not allowed to see.
Right.
So, that to me sounds like people that, like you said, are under the world.
I mean, right?
Right. And let me tell you something. Like I was saying a little while ago to you, I don't believe anything is coincidental on this earth. Look, this is what I said to my wife literally back in 2019. When COVID, and I might have said it to you too, when COVID started and all these businesses were suffering, what businesses were suffering during COVID? Think about it. Gas was suffering during COVID because people weren't going anywhere. Poultry, meat production was suffering really bad during COVID.
Yeah.
Food production. Now, other companies were making a lot of fucking money. Paper companies, Dollar Generals, Walmart.
Yeah, no shit.
Okay. And I said to my wife then, I said, this is all created by the people controlling this world. And those people are going to get back the gas companies and the meat companies and all these people suffering now. They created COVID. Now, it was a real disease, or it was created by these people, one of the two. But they knew it wouldn't kill nobody. They knew from the beginning it wasn't that deadly.
Right.
They hyped it up because they wanted to make money for certain businesses, and they told the other businesses, hey, wait, we got you, don't worry, we'll get you back. Then all of a sudden, right after COVID ends, and we're starting to stabilize again as an economy, right? They start the war in Ukraine. And what goes up in price? The only things that were hurt during COVID, the meat production industry and the gas companies go through the roof. Why? Because that's their get back.
Yeah.
That is their get back for the suffering they had to go through so the rest of the companies can make money. If you think all of this isn't a planned chess game, you have to be a complete and utter retard.
It's dude. It really is.
The information not only is obvious to anyone with half a brain, but it's clear as day.
Yeah, it's all written
It's
down.
all rigged. It's
Yeah.
all a game. And there are beings and people that probably aren't humans, to be real,
Right.
that are controlling everything that is going on in this earth. And they probably are underground, because if you wanted to stay hidden and you wanted nobody to find you, you would be thousands of feet under the ground in a magical bunker or city.
Oh, dude.
Because if there was a destruction on this earth, where would we go? We would go into a bunker.
Yeah.
Now, what would happen to that bunker after thousands of years? It'd be covered by dirt. It'd be covered after an ice age, and after all this happens on the earth. Now you're opening to your bunkers covered in dirt. Well, you got to dig yourself out another way so they get out of a tunnel. Okay? But they have this whole city that they built under the ground with all this technology that the Lightbringers in them had.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lightbringers see that these fuckers, still are alive, and they're like, well, fuck.
Yeah.
We thought they all died.
That's the story of Noah right there.
And that's the story of Noah. And then they see these Atlanteans and these Lumarians who are an advanced race coming up and getting intelligent and learning the same things the Lightbringers learned. And they pick a few of them and say, hey, there's going to be a big catastrophe again. You guys need to get the fuck out of Atlantis and Lumaria. Go over to Egypt. We're going to pick a few people for you to teach some shit to.
Mm-hmm.
You go over here, you go over there, da-da-da-da-da. And we're going to teach you how to build these pyramids and shit. You teach them your technology, but don't teach them too much. You keep some of it to yourself.
Yeah.
And if you do...
Secret.
Yeah, if you keep some of it secret, we'll bring you up to where we are for a little while.
Yeah, we got you back.
And
your family's back.
Right. We'll keep you safe. And we'll see how these other human Neanderthal guys, how they evolve. And we'll see how this little race of people, if they're okay. Okay? That all makes sense.
Yeah.
All of it. It all ties in together. Plus, we know by more and more scientific evidence is mounting that the pyramids were not tombs for pharaohs. No. They were obviously some kind of power source. Mm-hmm. They emitted radio waves. The Bosnia pyramid is so old and made of material that there's no way you could have made then. And it produces an energy we cannot recreate. All of that points to a race that was on this planet way before we were.
Yes,
way
more advanced.
And then you look at the Emerald Tablets and you bring that into all of this and see what this Atlantean thought said. And now what do you have? You have a puzzle that actually makes sense.
Yeah, you
start to piece it all together and it makes sense. Why are these exact pyramid structures built the exact same way on every continent? Why do they all have salt water underneath them? Why do they all have this power source in them? Why do they all have this and that? They're each a little different, but they're pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Why is they're all built the same? Because that's a technology that somehow we forgot.
Why was it all built in a way that it would be discovered by someone in the fucking future?
Right.
And why was it built in a way that they knew that it was going to be discovered by somebody in the future?
And not only that, they kept the technology only to certain people that they deemed worthy, like kings, pharaohs, heads of the country or the culture that was there. They didn't tell the common man, this is what the pyramid's for. I will keep that technology what the pyramid's for. I know how it works. Me and Thoth over here know how it works. Y'all don't need to know how it works.
Yeah.
You just enjoy the benefits of it. And we'll keep it built.
You know what that sounds like? That sounds like the Ark of the Covenant.
Correct.
Right? Only a certain people can use it, know how to use it. Anybody else try to touch that motherfucker, you're dead.
Well, think about this. Why wouldn't the Ark of the Covenant be a huge battery? This is what they said. The Ark of the Covenant used to glow at night as a light to the Israelites. And only Moses knew how it worked. And Moses was the one who talked to God on the mountain. So he's the only one who knew how it worked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he was given the tablets, and it didn't work unless it was the tablets.
The tablets were in the ark. So he built a what? A big battery. That's what it was. It was a solar battery. During the day, they would sit the ark down. It would absorb solar energy. At night, they carried the ark and it glowed from the energy from the sun and showed them where to go. If you think about it logically in technology terms and not in mythological terms.
Right. Well, if you don't take it as the word of God,
if you don't
read it as a story,
if you don't take it as mythology, if you take it as logic.
Just logical, yeah.
Yeah, and technology.
Logically reading a story.
Yeah, and if you take it as technology instead of magic.
Right, exactly.
Right. Then what does it become? It becomes a big solar battery, which is exactly what it was. And of course it killed people who touched it because it was made of solid metal and it's full of fucking electricity.
Right. Right.
If you
You
touch...
can't just go grabbing it.
Right, that's why they had to use wood rods.
You can't just go grabbing fucking power lines. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just don't go messing with electricity.
Right, if you went down and grabbed the power line, you fly off it like a dead motherfucker too.
Right.
And that's why they had to carry it with wood staffs. Because what does wood do? It doesn't transmit electricity.
Right.
It's simple. It was a giant old school battery. And somebody came down to Moses on that mountain and he said, hey man, look, you see these limestone rocks over here? I want you to write these rules for humanity. Which if you look at the rules, all it basically says is don't hurt other people.
Yeah.
So, and that's the preach of him, the preach of Buddha, the preach of Muhammad, the preach of every great person that was on this earth that was a religious leader. Basically, it all boils down to don't hurt other people.
Yeah.
So, he told him, take these big stone tablets because those stone tablets will absorb sun's energy. You put them in this gold case because why? We've already spoke about it. The outside of the ark was made of gold. The inside was made of copper. What happens with copper and gold when you put stones in water with copper and gold? Electrical current is produced when the sun hits it. We already went through this. That's a saltwater battery in its simplest form. Now it's made of solid gold on the outside. He tells them, hey, carry it with wood. Why would you do that?
Pretty
simple.
Simple.
Let's see. You carry it with wood because it's made of electricity, motherfucker. It's a giant battery. It's pretty simple.
But, yeah.
That's what the pyramids were. That's what the Ark of the Covenant was. It's not magical. None of this is mystical.
No, it's just electricity.
It's just technology that they didn't understand. And because they didn't understand it, to them, they'd never seen electricity. Moses didn't know what electricity was. You know what I'm saying? So to him, it was God.
It's technology that existed that seems to have been wiped out. But to me, that is now being slowly seeped back to us, but it's being controlled by someone.
I don't even know if it was wiped out. I think it was technology that always existed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying the civilization was wiped.
Oh, yeah, the civilization that knew it was reset.
Yeah.
But, like Thoth said in the Emerald Tablets, he said, I will give this to a select worthy few. So some people got the knowledge.
Right.
He gave it to the kings, to Moses, to people like this. Because it's funny. Egypt was doing great. Then they started treating people like shit. They started treating the Israelites like shit. They started treating other people like shit. And a prophet came to them and said, you got to treat people better or the gods, a.k.a. the bringers of the technology, are going to run from you. And they're going to abandon you. And if they do, you're not going to like what happens.
Well, I think there's, like I said, because Moses goes up on the mountain and God gives him the tablets. We're not talking about the creator of the universe. We're not talking about God. We're talking about a being, right? There's warring beings. There's one being that's good, that wanted humanity to have knowledge, and there's another one that did not want us to have knowledge. So, Thoth is an enlightened light being. And yes, he did only want to pass the knowledge down to certain people, right? But this knowledge is also known by whoever it is that's warring against him.
Oh, yeah.
That's using it for evil purposes, right? And that's the point.
Well, see, Thoth...
Whoever's running the show right now is using the technology and the suppression of all of this information to keep us dumbed down.
And see, Thoth wasn't even the being of light. There were beings above him because he communicated with them.
Of course.
And that goes back again to the Bible where it says, we made man in our image.
After our likeness.
Right. So there were beings of light that had all this technology. And like you said, there are beings of darkness that they left here on this planet. And then there were beings that came up, like the Atlanteans, Lumarians. And the beings of light saw, hey, they're becoming a very peaceful race. They get along. Let's go down there and tell them about this technology because they're getting smart. And then there was us. And we were the third level. We were the lower level. We were the ones they made just to do all their fucking dirty work. Mm-hmm. And then the Atlanteans died, the Lumarians died. There were a few of them left, like Thoth and them. And the beings of light said, hey, you know that technology we gave you guys? Don't you give it to them unless we tell you it's okay.
Right.
You give it to a certain select few because these people aren't like you and us. They're crazy.
The whole fucking goddamn blows the planet up.
Right. And they try to hurt each other. So you only give it to who we say. That's why when you look at the pharaohs, the land of Kim, he gave it to the original race of pharaohs because they were kind, loving beings.
Yep.
And when they started mistreating the Israelites, when they started taking slaves and hurting other people, which is what the Lightbringer said you don't do, right? When they started listening to the darkness in this world, that's when the Lightbringer said, we're fucking done. Right. You'll not have any more of the technology. And then it's like, all of a sudden, that's the funny thing. That's the funny thing about Egypt, and we're going to end on this. They started out in the Old Kingdom with all this technology, all this advancement, and when they started hurting people, when they started hurting Israelites and their own kind and Greeks and stuff like that, all of a sudden it's like the technology just got cut the fuck off.
Right.
It's like there is even record of that from the Old Kingdom. They had all this advanced technology. And then all of a sudden in the New Kingdom of Egypt, it's like all of it was lost suddenly. Why? Because Thoth said, I told you guys to stop acting like this. You didn't. My people are telling me, hey, I got to take the technology with me, bud. We're going to the halls of Atlantis and we're done with you. So they took Thoth and the few left on this earth that were still good people up with them. And they said, you know what? Fuck all y'all.
Yeah, we'll check on you here in a few thousand years and see if you guys have fucking shaped up a little bit.
Right. We'll see where you guys
grow
go.
The fuck up.
Right. If you guys want to keep hurting each other and killing each other.
And yet here we are in
still
2022, just fucking starting.
And when the Lightbringers left this earth, I'll tell you what happened. That's when the evil took over this earth. And that's when the beings that we're talking about that still live on this earth, underneath the earth, in the cities under this earth, started manipulating everything that went on. And they're manipulating it for their own means.
I think we're going to come back with a part 4 on this about the fucking beings of energy.
Oh, those, yeah. You know I'd have to research it, but
Just talk,
about the beings above and below.
Yeah.
Because that's where the saying comes from. As above, so below.
Right.
So, those beings upstairs, there's beings downstairs that have the same energies, but they are manipulating this earth and they're evil. But anyways, I hope you guys liked it.
Yeah.
We're not doing any more episodes today, I promise you, but maybe next week, the week after, a few weeks from now, whenever, we will do another episode. So we've got 3 weeks worth of content right now, buddy.
Well, I mean, there's 3 parts of this thing.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Who knows what we'll talk about next time?
Yeah, that's 3 weeks worth of content. So
maybe we get to part 4. Maybe we don't.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I mean, we'll get to part 4
got time
eventually.
To think about it.
Yeah, we got time. But anyways, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Yep, and we will see you next time.
Later.